This is Demetrios Kousathanas, host of the Greek American Hour with Dimitri, that airs every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time and every Saturday at 4 a.m. Eastern for the benefit of our friends in Greece, where it would air at 11 a.m. Today, we come to you from the beautiful island of Mykonos that is located in the Aegean Sea, right here in Greece. Our very special guest today is best-selling, multi-award-winning mystery writer, Jeffrey Siger, who has written 8 books, is that correct?
That's correct.
And one in particular is entitled Murder in Mykonos. And I have the pleasure of reading this book, and it is just absolutely riveting. Fantastic work. The common thread of his books are that they take place in Greece. Welcome to our show.
Thank you for having me, Dimitri, and for taking away from your last day in our beautiful island.
I wouldn't want it any other way.
And the Maconians love you here.
They love you too. You're a local celebrity here.
Well, you're a true local, so we'll end this Mutual Admiration Society with another thank you.
My first question for you is, why Greece? What was compelling about Greece that brought you to write the books?
About 30 years ago, a friend of mine said that I would love Greece, that I would just fall in love with it, and she was right. And we first went to Athens. It was lovely. Then we came to Mykonos. And when I got off the plane, I had this sense that I was home again. I don't know why that was. And on practically the very first day, I met a friend who became a lifelong friend. And through him, I became part of Mykonos. My friends are Maconians, not expats. And I now spend more time here than any other place on earth. It's my home. It's where my family is, so to speak. And at one point in my life, about a dozen years ago, I decided I wanted to write a book that would explore the issues of an island like this, the politics, the society, all the things that make this place special. But I don't write about little tavernas or flowery fields. I wanted to write about the essence of what life is like here. And the best way I saw doing that was in the context of a murder mystery. And so what I did is I took this Mamma Mia style setting and dropped into it a serial killer to turn it into My Country for Old Men. And the result was something beyond my wildest expectations. My friend who had said I'd love it, he and his family said, "You're going to destroy the image of Mykonos." I said, "No, I don't think so." And later, when the book became the #1 best-selling English language book in Greece, he said, or his family said, "You did him an honor. You did him an honor by doing that book." And that gets to the little bit of a sad twist to this story, because the person who ultimately inspired the book, even though he objected to it, died before it ever came to pass. But he had a hand in it, because at his funeral here in town, I was standing right by his coffin, and suddenly as I looked up, the idea for the story came to me. It was as if Tassos was saying, "Okay, Jeffrey, here's the story, you write it." And I did. And it went on to the success. It was Tassos Stamoulis, if you knew him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Your book certainly brought notoriety to the island, so the end result was good no matter what, because you brought a lot of attention to a place that's already somewhat popular. But,
I'm not sure that's credit or blame.
No, that's a good thing.
But no, it's been interesting. I wrote a 5th book which talked about Mykonos too, as you know. It's called Mykonos After Midnight. And in that, I addressed what I thought was going to happen to the island. And I think maybe that's coming true too. But we'll see. We'll see.
And your work, do you base it on actual people that you observe, or do you just come up with like a fictitious silhouette of what you observe?
Well, we all write based upon what it is that we've experienced in our life. That doesn't mean you write necessarily about what you know. You write on your toes is what you want to do. But there are people you meet, there are images that you meet. I teach mystery writing at an American university. What I like to say is that all mystery writers are body snatchers. We see a face, we see an image, and we want to put a personality to it. Or we have a personality in mind as a character develops, so we got to describe a body around it. So you're taking elements of people that you know, and you're turning it into the characters that make your stories flow. And so the answer is, I guess you could say, yes, I do. I do borrow from that. And the places are very legitimately Greek. I take great care to precisely describe where a place is and what it's like. Because when you're writing, you want to make it as realistic to the reader as possible, when you're writing fiction especially. Because when you want to take the big jump from the improbable to the impossible, you want them to come with you. For example, there has never been a serial killer in Greece, but I wrote a book that made people think there were.
What I remember when I was reading Murder in Mykonos, I could visualize every location that you were talking about, so that was pinpoint accuracy.
Thank you.
One very interesting aspect about your books is that each one, even though they take place at a different spot with a different storyline, follow the same character, the same policeman.
Yes, Chief Inspector Andreas Kallis. He's the head of a special unit charged with the ability to investigate any major crime or political corruption scandal that he seeks to investigate. And that takes him into many different areas of the government and of the country. And I'm very proud of the way he's been able to stand up to all of the things that situation in this country throws at him and maintain his integrity. He's a pillar of virtue in the country. I'm very proud of him.
And is he based on someone that you met, or this is just a concept that you had?
Well, again, I pick up elements of people that I know. Some see personalities in him of people. Some see his way of addressing problems as my way. But who knows? But he does stand out there as an example and an inspiration for a lot of police to follow.
Before you were a writer, did you do anything else, or have you been a writer all of your life?
I'd like to feel as if I were, or say that I were, but no, I had another job, one that was not held in as high regard by society. I was a lawyer. In fact, I started off as a Wall Street lawyer, and then with some friends, I formed my own New York City law firm. And that's when I decided, and at one point I decided to give it all up and move to Greece to write about the place I really cared about. And I have not regretted it. It's been a wonderful experience. Absolutely great. I should add, as I pause for a second, I want to admonish many people who think about jumping into the writing game. Remember this, and you'll be very happy in life. Writing is a lousy way to make a living, but a wonderful way to make a life. Okay. Understand that choice when you start out.
You know, I understand the competition is very fierce with writing. So for you to rise above the rest, obviously speaks volumes for your talent as a writer.
Well, thank you. But I was thinking, even most of the writers that you know of, you'd be surprised how little they make compared to other people. So when you write, it has to be a passion. You have to care for it. And if you go into it for the sake of making money, like in any art, you'll probably be disappointed, because you really have to have a passion for it, or you have to have another way of earning a living, which is what most of them do.
For aspiring writers, how would you suggest they go about getting their works out, as far as being noticed by a publisher? Or?
Well, these days you have the ability to self-publish rather easily through various processes tied into, let's say, Amazon. But I think what you really want to do is you want to write the best book possible. You really want to work on it. Some people these days say you should write 1 hour a day and promote 8. That doesn't work. I mean, you start buying lottery tickets, you have a better shot with less work. I think that you're better off saying to yourself, I'm going to write the best book I can, and I'm going to finish it, and then I'm going to try to find an agent who's going to work with me. And you're going to push that agent to try to push your work. That's probably the best way to go about doing it. But the first thing is you got to write it. And don't be discouraged when your first book or your second book is rejected. They're called drawer novels. You write them, you think they're great, and they end up in a drawer. Every writer who's ever achieved anything has them. It's just the way it is. Maybe you get lucky and you become a bestseller. Those drawer novels will be valuable. Like Harper Lee. We all know about that recent story. To Kill a Mockingbird author. So right now, my advice is write, and write again. And don't be discouraged if you do not have a literature degree. You don't have to have one. I teach English now. I say it in the university. When I was in college, I took one English course the whole time I was there. It was a course I needed to graduate. But you can never tell where you end up. Just do your writing. When
you get inspired, when do your ideas hit you? Is it when you're just walking the beach somewhere out of the blue, or do you sit down and focus and put your thoughts together?
Well, it comes, in my case, I write based upon an inspirational moment, such as what you said. That's just the way it is for me. I'm much a seat of the pantser. There are two types of writers. People who sit down not knowing what they're going to say and just let the characters run the story towards the end. And those who have the concept of an outline. They're outliners. They set everything out there, and they know exactly what they're going to write. And then, of course, there are the gradations between. As for what sort of moments I had, I was sitting, I believe, with your father down in Tarpon Springs with our mutual friend here, and he was discussing something about Patmos, and I was talking about Patmos, and he said there was a scandal taking place up on Mount Athos at the time, and described it at Vadapedia, and I suddenly saw this light go off. tying it all together, because both places, as you know, are really sacred to the Greek Orthodox Church. And I said, oh my God, and I saw it all come together. So your father gets an inspirational credit for that one.
Your work is very highly revered by the Greeks. I think they've adopted you as their very own. What are your thoughts on that?
I am really honored by that. It's true. I just can't say how much I appreciate the friendships I have. I've always treasured them, and I still do. And in my books, which, as I think you mentioned, they explore issues confronting modern Greece in a way it touches on its ancient roots. I do not pull punches. I say it like it is. The New York Review of Books has said that about my writing. And when I decided to give up my career to write, I said I would not pull punches. I would tell it like it is. But there's so much good to tell it like it is. It's not that hard. We all know about the problems that exist here. And each of my books tries to explore a different element of the Greek life. It's like a mosaic, each book. The first one, Murder in Mykonos, explores how an island comes together to protect its economic survival in a time of crisis. The second, Assassins of Athens, explores the relation between Greeks and their government. And in that book, by the way, as the Greek press has noted, I anticipated the rise of Syriza and indeed Cyprus by 4 or 5 years. The third book, Prey on Patmos, is the element of the mosaic having to do with Greeks in the church. The fourth, Targetinos, which was picked by the New York Times as one of its 5 books for the summer, that book explores the immigrant issues. Mykonos After Midnight is now looking at where the country is headed in this time of foreigners coming in to profit off of the low asset values. And then the fifth, Sons of Sparta, is Greeks in the Family. The sixth book is Devil of Delphi, is a book that explores the counterfeit bomb trade, which has infiltrated a lot of what happens in Greece's islands, nightlife, and around the country. And the next one is about Greeks in the military. That's Santorini Caesars. So I've tried to capture the essence of each of the elements, all designed to try to give some sort of an overview to the Greek psyche. And who am I to guess it, to do it, but I'm trying my best.
And with all of this extra sensory perception that you have you considered possibly running for office in Greece or being part of the Greek government?
I know you're smiling as you ask that question. I think there's enough issues to confront when asks that question with respect to the United States right now, let alone in Greece. I try to stay out of politics. I have friends who are involved in it, and I listen to them, and I have very good friends in politics who give me a lot of the information that works its way into my books. My research methods are somewhat unusual. I spend my time walking around Mykonos very late at night, 4 or 5 in the morning, meeting up with friends, some in government, some out, who like to talk a lot. And I learn a lot of things which find their way into the books, which is nothing bad, nothing that would embarrass anybody. But it's insights that lead me to where I am, and also insights that lead me to say I want nothing to do with being involved in government. No, thank you.
Okay. And do you have any ideas that are popping in your head now for books that you would, without being a spoiler, that you would be able to talk about? Or do you want to wait till you have something?
No, I'm working on one right now for 2017. There's a big elephant in the room of Greece, in fact, of all of Europe. It's the refugee, immigrants, migrant crisis. And that's working its way into a book that I'm formulating now. I early on fell into the alliterative title phase, which has kept me somewhat locked as to what I write, because you'll have like Murder in Mykonos, Assassins of Athens, Prey on Patmos, all of it is alliterative. So that now I'm in a situation where I'm coming up with an island, and I say, can I come up with a word to fit into that that's going to alliterate, like liars of Lesbos or charlatans of Chios or something like that. These are all the things but that's a small point. But what I'm looking at right now is that issue. That's one I think has to be addressed. It's not going away.
What is your latest book?
Well, the book that is currently out is Devil of Delphi. It's been described as Breaking Bad Greek style. And that book has just been nominated for Best Book of 2015 by a major American mystery magazine, so I'm very proud of that. But the next book, which comes out September 6th, is Santorini Caesars, and I'm really proud of that one. That's getting some good reviews, and we'll see how it takes off. It talks about, as I said once before, Greece and its military. So you can imagine what that might cover.
That's the only bone you're going to throw us now?
That's the only bone I'm going to throw you right now.
Okay.
Except that it starts off with a young protester in the middle of, demonstrating in the middle of protest-prone Athens. And what happens to that protester triggers an investigation that runs to the beautiful island of Santorini and deep into the thinking of the Greek military.
Very good. If you would like more information on Jeffrey's work, you can visit his website at jeffreysiger.com. That's JEFFREYSIGER.com. Again, jeffreysiger.com. And you can find links to where you can buy the books yourself. And what else is on the website?
Reviews, interviews, which I will treasure as much as this one. And general information about my work and links to the blogs that I write. I write regularly for something called Murderers Everywhere. I'm one of 10 mystery writers from around the world who writes about the places where we write our books, or place our books, because writing about your work all the time gets very boring very quickly. So there are links to that place as well.
Our guest has been award-winning mystery author Jeffrey Siger. Thank you very much for joining us.
Well, thank you very much, Demetrios, for having me here. It's been a great pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks.